Hello, everybody. Today we'll continue our chapter 1 in database models. I will repeat fast repetition. Relational model is how to create our data in tabular format. Like here, we have table. Each row is called record in database. It's called record. Each record is a row, and each field or columns called attributes. So we have ID field, name of instructor. This is table of instructors. ID field, name of instructor, department name of each instructor, and example here, salary. Okay, and so on and so on and so on. Okay, so this is small example how to create this table using now two different language, database language, two different database language. First one will be data definition language, DDL. It's very hard. It's very hard language. We have another language is easier, okay? This language, we do it like this, okay? Example, create syntax. The syntax of creating the same table is create space, table space, table name, open parenthesis, close parenthesis, first field or attribute, space, what is the type of this field? This field ID here in this example is char5, means 5 characters, okay? And it's fixed length, always 5 characters, okay? Fixed length, comma, another field, the second field is the name, space, varchar 20. Varchar is variable length of a char. So depend on the name. If the name is 5 char, so it reserves in the memory only 5 char. Till maximum 20 char and is بتقطشها. Okay? يعني بتقطش على 20 ما تطبع بعد ال 20. Okay? After 20 character doesn't display. Okay? No error. We don't have error here. Okay? Comma, department name, varchar 20, comma, salary, it's a number. Numeric in database SQL, numeric is a float number. There is no float in database SQL. The word float is not. Okay? Numeric. ايه هادي؟ تفضل هادي.
عفوا بس سؤال.
تفضل.
الفار تشار فيك بس تعيدها فكرة الفار انه حسب الاسم واذا من 5 ما فهمت.
Okay, varchar, it's variable length. It's not fixed length 20. Char5 for ID in the database, in the memory, we reserve 5 characters always. We have fixed length 5 char always reserved. Whereas in varchar here, maximum 20 character, maximum. Minimum depend on the name. If you type your name is whatever, Omar, 5 character, okay? Omar, 4 characters. So in the memory, the name field or Omar field is reserved only 4 character, not 20. So it's better to use.
Okay, thank you.
It's better. Now go to integer and the float number or double. Okay, in SQL Server, we don't have double and the float number. We have something called numeric. Numeric means it's a float or double, depend on these values. So numeric means it's a double or a float, okay? 8 digits, 8 space, 8 digit, comma 2. After comma, we have 2 decimal number. So it's 6 in the quotient part, 6 digits, comma, point, 2 digits after the comma, okay? So here, 8, comma, 2 means it's a float number or double number, depend on the length of this first number. You can put here 32. You can put numeric 32, comma, 2, okay? So here is the fixed. In numeric or integer, it's a fixed length that stored in the memory. Only the varchar, it's dynamic. It's not fixed, okay? This is an example how to use DDL language inside the database. Inside the database. This code cannot be written in the host language like VBA or HTML or Python. This code only for database SQL itself cannot be written above this. Okay, this is database language. Okay, it's for database language. We'll see it in Microsoft Access. Also, we'll see it in Microsoft SQL Server. We'll make some example in this language. It's very hard, but we'll work around 70% on another language. It's okay. Okay, it's DML language, data manipulation language. DML language, it's easier language, and this language are embedded in all host softwares. Example, we have two types, procedural DML and non-procedural DML or declarative. We'll use this declarative DML. Example, I'm go very fast, okay? Like SQL query language is non-procedural language. This SQL query language is embedded in almost all newest programming language. So this is, we learn this. It's much easier, okay? The compiler of this language will convert it to DDL, okay? We don't care how to convert it, okay? So example here for the same table, example, how to find all instructors in computer science department for the same table before, okay? So this code will be used around 80%. We'll use like this, select space, the field name, here's the field name, select from column called or attribute called name, from table name, we have here one table, from instructor table. So select column from table, okay? Select name, column name or attribute name, called in the database attribute name, from table called instructor. Select what? Select name. If we do it like this, only these two lines will show us all the table. Will show us all the table. We can put here condition where, this is the condition, where space, you can put anything you want here, where department name equal computer science, single quote. In database SQL, we put single quote, not double quotation, single quotation. So where department name equal computer science. So now this code will generate from the big table for all department, filter by only computer science. So the output will be the name of instructors only in computer science. Of course, we can put here or and. We can put and another name, or we can put or. So or logical operations اللي بتعرفوهم, you know, we can put it here. We'll see lot of examples on that. Okay, this is small example. Okay. Okay, as I said before, SQL is usually embedded in almost higher level language. Okay. Okay, like here, host language, called host language, VBA, C, C++, Java, or Python, and VB.NET, C#, and so on, and so on. Okay, we have logical design and physical design. This is repetition, okay? Now we'll begin new things, new slide. Database engine. Now we have engine inside the database. We have server inside server. Okay, we have engine, small server or small engine inside the database. Its function here, database system is partitioned into modules that deal with each of the responsibility of the overall system. Means the functional component of a database system can be divided into the storage manager. We have inside the database storage manager, the query processor component, and the transaction management component. We'll talk about them alone. Storage manager, a program, a module that provides the interface between the low-level data stored in the database and the application program and the query submitted to the system. Means storage manager, it's the gateway or the intermediate software, intermediate engine, or interface between the data itself inside the table and the host program. If you work in Python, so storage manager will manipulate all the transaction from Python or from VBA or from C++ or from any host language to the database itself. So it's the bridge. Okay. The storage manager is responsible to the following task. Will do the following: interaction with the operating system file manager. Also, this storage manager inside the database, inside the engine database, will manipulate interaction with operating system itself. Okay, Microsoft Windows or Linux or Unix or whatever. Efficient storing, retrieving, and updating of data. Okay, this storage manager inside database, it will rearrangement how to the data stored inside the table and inside the memory of the computer. That's why we'll interact with operating system to save the table data inside the memory. That's why it must be interaction with operating system. Also, the storage manager components include authorization and integrity manager. Means if you have username or password, and integrity, verification of your data is correct, not interrupted data. We explained it before. Transaction manager, file manager, and buffer manager. Buffer manager means in the memory. Okay. The storage manager implements several data structures as part of the physical system implementation. Means it's responsible of data file, store the database itself, data dictionary, stores metadata, we'll see it later, about the structure of the database, in particular the schema of the database. Okay, we have data dictionary and data file. We'll see it, data dictionary in XML database. We'll make some example in the lab. Also indices, which field is very important field to index, to pointer at that table. Each table has a starting pointer or starting index. How to enter this table? Via index. Index means it must be each table must be has primary key. One field called primary key. Usually the ID number. Usually it's unique number. It cannot be repetition, duplicate. So this is called index. Can provide fast access to the data item. A database index provides pointers to those data items that hold a particular value. So we must go to the table by primary key, by its index. Then when you open the connection to that table, so it's easy to go to another field. Now we'll go to query processor. Query processor components include DDL interpreter, as we said before, database, the language, the first language interpreter. It's not compiler, it's interpreter, line by line, will compiled or will converted to the database line by line interpreter. Interpret DDL statement and record the definition of the data dictionary when build data dictionary. And DML compiler, as we said before, when you write a query language like select name or select whatever from table where something kaza, this is called DML. So the query processor will convert your code in DML to data dictionary, to low-level instruction that query engine understand. So to data dictionary. Okay. The DML compiler performs query optimization. It picks the lowest cost evaluation plan from among the various alternatives. Okay. This is better than this. Here in DML compiler will make the optimization. If you write in DDL code, in DDL statement, if you write something wrong, you have a big problem here. But here we have optimization. Query evaluation engine executes low-level instructions generated by the ML compiler. It's a repetition. Now, the last things, transaction management. Transaction is a collection of operations that performs a single logical function in database application. We have components ensure that the database remains in a consist, means a correct value, not interrupt value, state despite system failure. So this part of engine, transaction management, it's responsible how to store the data in correct form, not interrupted. Like example here, example, power failure and operating system crash. If the computer is power failure, it's turned off immediately. So the transaction management inside the engine, database engine, will be responsible of consistent or accuracy of the data. If the data is not complete, we'll remove it from database. Will not store it incomplete data. We'll remove it. This is function of TCP protocol later in your course network. Okay, so transaction management will use TCP protocol. We'll see it in the next course, computer networks. Okay, so if the power failure, if the computer or the server is turned off suddenly, so if in this moment, in this point, we have saving data, whatever, so the data will not be saved wrong, so the data will be null. Okay, we reject the last operation, or the operating system crashes and transaction failures. So, and we have concurrency control manager. Here, this transaction manager responsible how many users at the same time concurrently transaction enter and make in parallel 110 operation at the same time. So this transaction management component inside database engine is responsible how parallel user. Okay. As the last, we have database architecture. We have centralized database, one to a few core, shared memory. Here we have shared memory. Client server database. One server machine executes work on behalf of multiple client machines, which are in different places than the data. We'll see them in the network course. Okay. So client server, we have multiple client computers and one machine. Okay, and one machine. Centralized database is you have your program and the database at the same computer, at the same centralized. Also, we have parallel database. We have many core shared memory. We have many server shared to share disk. Okay, and we have distributed database. This is like client server. This is similar to client server, but geographically distribution in another country or another cities. We have different client. Here we have in the LAN. Here we have in the WAN. LAN, local area network, inside one room or two rooms or same building. Here, geographical distribution in different building or different cities. It's the client server, but called distributed database because we have a client outside from the country or the city, okay, using WAN network. We'll see it in the network database. Schema data heterogeneity. Okay, now we have database application. We have two-tier architect and a three-tier architect. two-tier architecture, the application resides at the client machine. The application resides at the client machine where it invokes database system functionality as a server machine. So you have the client machine called directly database. Whereas three-tier architecture, the client machine acts as a front end and does not contain any direct database code. So we have intermediate engine who takes the request from the client machine and convert it to the database. Okay, we'll see here. So the client and communication with an application server, usually through a forms interface. We'll see how. The application server in turn communicate with the database system to access data. So we in the three-tier architecture, we have intermediate software who convert your request from client to the database. Example here. Here, two-tier architecture. You have the user computer, the client. This is the computer client, and this is computer server. This is the network between them. Okay, client server example. User and its application. Okay, this application directly connected to the database, directly, using ODBC driver. Using ODBC driving, we'll see it in the Microsoft Access. So we must call ODBC engine or driver inside your application, Microsoft Access or VB.NET or whatever, to the database. Whereas in the three-tier architecture, we have user, application client, like PHP, example PHP. When we want to call the database SQL or MySQL, it must have the third server, application server called Apache. Okay, so this example is for Microsoft Access, and this example is for PHP with Apache engine to the database, or ASP.NET with IIS engine inside the Microsoft. Okay, so here we have in the e-commerce or web development. In web development, they use this ASP or PHP. In the web, in the internet, we use ASP code or PHP code. It must have the three application server called IIS for Microsoft, Apache for Linux, Unix, and others. Okay, this is how. Now, database administrator. We have still 1 minute. Okay. The administrator responsible of schema definition, storage structure and access method definition, schema and physical. What is the responsible of database administrator? This is a function of employee, the administration of database, granting of authorization of data access, routine maintenance, periodic backup and of database, and free disk space, and so on. Okay, monitoring job running, and so on. History here, we have some